Where's
Hey, you know what Linda said? You got a face for the radio. I thought you said you had a face for the radio. No. All right, what you guys will see up there, the whole thing's up there. They're gonna roll some of the pre-clips, and then I start as soon as I stop. So.
Why? Was it a tough week for the Pop One squad too?
They all want to.
Heard you guys got beat up by CM.
No, we lost that. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Winchester Football Weekly. We want to cover this week's games. It was a tough week for Winchester football all around, from the high school all the way down to even some of the Pop Warner games. We have a new segment that we're going to add this week, but we also have the in-house guest this week is Sean Donlan, who was captain of the 1989 Sachems, played defensive end and tight end, and they had an 8-2 season that year. But again, we're going to look back at the history of Winchester football through some photographs and kind of talk about that a little bit. But the most popular segment, of course, is also the Players of the Week. The high school Player of the Week is Parker Carey. He plays inside linebacker, has seen time on the varsity since his freshman year. Tough kid, plays hard, so it'll be fun to talk to him. Middle school, in the 8th grade, we have Stefano Mitsakis. And then in the 7th grade, we have Joe Lepore, and in Pop Warner, we have Lucas Gabolis. So we're going to get started with the scores right now. The high school, they lost to Melrose 34-7. Dana Morocco scored the only touchdown for Winchester on a 2-yard run. Dana had approximately 100 yards on 18 carries. Unusual thing this week, not to fluff over what happened last week, but they have a game against Woburn, the first time in history that they're going to play them during the regular season. So that is this Friday night up in Woburn Stadium at 7 p.m. So we're hoping that they see this as an opportunity to bounce back really quick and get over it real quick. So the Sachems Youth Football Red Team traveled to Catholic Memorial on September 18th for their 2013 season opener. They ran into a tough CM squad. The final was CM 30 and Sachems Youth Football Red 8. This week, the Red Team hosts Bedford on Wednesday at 4 p.m. at Knowlton Stadium. The Black Team, the SYFC Black Team, hosted Melrose on the 20th. They lost a tight one, 18-12. The Black Team travels to Canton on Thursday for a 4 p.m. game. Joe Lepore actually had a chance, caught the ball the last play of the game, trying to get there, but he got tackled, so that ended the game pretty much. So it was a pretty exciting game for those kids as well. So Pop Warner recaps. The D-Red team rolled again this week, beating Wakefield 26-0. Great effort from the offensive line, in particular John Guthrie, who has also scored a touchdown, as well as Johnny Annucci, playing some great football for the Sachems. D-Red is now 3-0 and has outscored its opponents by an amazing margin of 94-12. The C team, where Lucas played, the C team faced a true battle this week against undefeated Wakefield team, facing a 14-0 deficit. The C team came back to within a score with a few late chances, but ended up suffering its first loss of the season, 14-6. Lucas, he played great for his team, the Pop Warner Player of the Week from the C team. So, what they did well was they were down 14-0. They went back to basics, and they drove down the field for 65 yards to get a score to bring it back within one. And there was a suspicious game play call that ended that game in a rough situation. We'll get into that if we can. So, but the D-Black team continues their unbeaten streak as well. They're handling Wakefield 26-13 with a tremendous effort from the entire offensive line and a late touchdown by Camilo Vizella. There's that name Vizella we keep hearing. The E team lost a close game to Wakefield despite a tremendous game from Charlie Bella and some great tackle by Bo Brissett. The D team remains in first place and faces Melrose next week along with the C team. They both teams go over to Melrose. The D Black is also tied for first place and travels to Barica for another tough non-conference game along with the E team. So you have two teams going to the Barica and the two older teams are going to Melrose. So that's pretty much as far as the recap goes. So it wasn't, Papuana did a pretty good job, keeping up with their, schedule and trying to make their way to the playoffs, some of the older teams. The C team that they did lose, it was a non-league game, so it will not affect their chances to try to make it to the playoffs. So but what we do want to do right now is we do have this new segment that we want to try to bring up the history of Winchester football, try to give some of the younger kids a chance to look back, like Henry Knowlton. Everyone knows Henry Knowlton Stadium, but who is he? We want to talk about some of the previous years. So we're going to bring up the first picture, and that is of the 1977 football team. What's interesting about this, if you take a look, the team captains were Wayne Maggio, who is still around town, Donnie Allard, and John Della Grate. Overall record was 7-3-0, with one of those wins being over the rival Woburn, 22-7. Running back Anthony Davis led the Sachems in scoring that year with 82 points in 1977. If you notice some of these guys, we can bring that picture back, please. Some of those guys on that roster are, we have some relatives, like there's a Campbell, Connor Campbell, who's a Winchester kid. His uncle is on this team. But if you also know Earl Johnson on the right, he's got the raincoat on. He was one of the favorite coaches as well as Tom Klein up behind Manny Marshall with a mustache. Earl Johnson was one of the players' favorites. He knew he knew the least about football than any of the coaches, but the kids loved him. When my brother played for him, one of his good friends was Michael Blackwood, big black kid, and he referred to my brother and him as salt and pepper. If you did that today, there would be an issue. But he could get away with it because everybody loved him. So he's a great guy. So getting to the second picture was 1973. Those team captains were Rudy Fiore, Charles Darrow, and Dave Saliba. Overall record was 5-3-1. They beat Woburn that season 21-15. Captain Fiore was the team's leading scorer with 78 points that year. The funny thing about Dave Saliba, he's a lifelong resident. He's still around. I know he's a lawyer now these days. But again, you still have the one thing you can notice is this consistency. The coaches are there. They were there a long time, all of those coaches. But you see the numbers from the first group. They're probably about 10 more than we have, maybe 15 more than we have right now on the varsity. Look at the uniforms. They had no sachem on there. It was all very plain. The year before, those pictures, all they had was a red stripe on them. And look at the face mask. We have more concussions now with safer helmets than we did with those types of helmets back then. So I just find it interesting that the equipment's gotten better, but now we're all getting concussions. So if we can go to the third slide. And the third slide is from, I believe, 1935. And that picture was taken at McCall Middle School, which was the high school back then. There's a couple of unique things there. Look at the size of the team. There wasn't many, so everybody played both ways, I can assure you there. But if you look at the stripes on those shirts, you see three guys that are wearing stripes. Those were called friction stripes for shirts. And I looked that up today because I didn't know what it meant. I thought it was quarterbacks that didn't want to be hit. But it wasn't. I found out that was for running backs to hang on to the ball. they actually were a little bit tougher material, so the pigskin actually stuck to it. Back then when they played, there was no, you weren't down by contact. If you were down, but you could still go forward, you got up and went. So that was the way for them to hang on to the ball. All that friction tape was on the front and the arms, as you can see, to really just hang on to the football. So I thought that was pretty interesting. So we're going to go to the fourth slide, which was 1929. Again, at McCall, which is the high school. Who knows? I think that was actually Lynch. But look at the number of people that were on that team. This was the start, really the start of it. Let me see, the 1935 team was coached by W.D. Mansfield and captained by John Sexton. And the 1929, that is also Coach Mansfield as well as the head coach. So I thought that, you know, again, not many players, so they had to play a lot to get the job done. But we don't know their scores. It'd be interesting to find out how if they beat Woburn. And then the last picture that we're going to get into today. The last picture is, we all know, you know, you hear Henry Knowlton Stadium, which is at McCall, which is the turf field as we call it. But no one really knows Henry Knowlton, and we're going to spend some time over the weeks trying to get you pictures so you can kind of see into him, because he was obviously, if you get the field named after him, he was he was loved by a lot of people in town. But that is an actual picture of Henry Knowlton. He looks a lot like Parker Carey kicking that Wilmington extra point, because that toe kick is basically the same thing. So, but we're going to get you some more pictures of Henry Knowlton, so I think that'll be pretty good to see. I think we're also going to try to get the history of the middle school program, and I'd like to even go back and try to get you the history of Papuana, because Papuana, we had a league that was the Dolphins, the Patriots. It was all in town. So we're going to try to get the history of it. So I think it's good for some of the older people to take a look at, but also for some of the young kids to understand where we all came from. So next we're going to have Sean Donlan. Come on up, Sean. Sean Donlan, he graduated in 1990. Manny Marshall was his coach, and that was Manny's last year of coaching. Sean started as a junior and a senior at defensive end and tight end. He was one of the captains of the '89 squad. They were 8-2. They should have won a Super Bowl, but because of some arrest, I think it was Chuck Ward might have been one of those arrests, but we won't name names, and key injuries. No, I'm only kidding about that. But and some key injuries. We believe that the '89 squad still holds some records for the most points scored and the least points against. Sean's father was captain of the Sachems 2 times, so his junior and senior year. Was 1951 and 1952. His brother Joe played for the Sachems and graduated in '82. There was another team that was definitely underachieved. I believe that was Mango's year, but don't quote me. But they underachieved as well. Sean, after high school, went on to the University of Miami from 1990 to '94. He's married and lived in Winchester. He has a son in the 6th grade playing for the middle school program. He also has 2 girls in the 5th grade and the 1st grade that play another sport. No, I'm only kidding. They play soccer. And Sean is, you've probably seen signs or trucks around. Sean is part owner and project manager for the Donlan Sons Construction Company. They've done my driveway twice anyway. But they've been in business over 40 years. My older brother worked for them years ago. It was, there's a rite of passage if you worked at Mahoney's, Donlan, or Nowell Moving Company. Those are the 3 places you worked. So, Sean, thank you very much for coming. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
I'm going to turn it over to Jimmy, because I do want Jimmy to ask you some questions about your experience.
Yep.
Go ahead.
Sean, my first question is, what's it like to be a part of the Sachem legacy, per se? Like your dad, and then now you, and now your son?
You know, Jimmy, I loved it. Ever since I can remember, just hearing about the tradition from my father, his friends. You know, I used to go to the KFC or the CC Club, and his friends would still be there, guys like Skitchy Carroll, Fishy Sullivan, and they would tell me stories from when they played back in the 50s. Then I had an older sister who was a tumbleette in the late 70s, early 80s, so I knew guys like, Jay Gill, Pat's brother Jay, those teams. I remember watching those teams. Gary Arrico, Lenny Bellino, Bob Cook, guys like that. So I remember them. My brother Joe played with Coach Mango, the 81 team. They were excellent, so I always idolized those guys. Coach Marshall was a legend, so growing up, we wanted to be, play for Coach Marshall. And it was always something that was instilled in all of us that we were going to be Sachems and try to be the best that we could. So it was just a great experience. Still is with, my son in 6th grade now who's in Mango's clinic and coming up, and it's going to be exciting to watch him. I have 2 brother-in-laws who played too in the mid-90s and 2005 era. So it's always been a part of me.
Was it a different feeling being the last class under the legendary Coach Manny Marshall?
Now that I look back on it, it probably is. But going through it, we really didn't think about that. And I'm not even sure if we knew that was going to be Coach Marshall's last year. We just took it one game.
Probably not. I don't think
Probably not.
said
Mr. Marshall was not that type of guy to announce anything like that. But now looking back on it, it's quite an honor to be, the last team that he coached.
Yeah. My final question is just to talk about your Thanksgiving senior year. I know you guys lost 7-6, but just to go through, it was a different circumstance. They didn't play on the Thursday of Thanksgiving. It got snowed out. Did it add a different type of meaning, or not less of a meaning because you didn't get to play on that Thursday?
It did, Jimmy. And I'm going to say something that I've never said before. It took the luster off the game. And we got snowed out, and we played 2 days later. It was less of a crowd there, and there's not a doubt in my mind. And after I say this, people are going to say he's a sore loser, but show me a good loser, and I'll show you a loser, right?
Right.
We would have mopped up the field with them if we played on a regular field. There's no doubt in my mind about that. So they had to play on the same field too. So I give them credit, but I just was salivating, waiting to get to that game. And then when it got snowed out, it was such a disappointment. But we had a good run. We were 8-2. We went into our 9th game against Wakefield, who won the league that year, and they were an excellent team. And the average score of our game was 40-1 against our opponents. We were really dominating everybody. And so after we lost to Wakefield, and we did have some key guys that got injured and things like that. But still, the experience was fantastic.
Thank you, Sean.
You're welcome.
I do have one more question.
Sure.
Okay, as an alumni, what do you feel about these boys, the high school kids, going to play Woburn in week 3?
Oh, I don't like it. Yeah, to me personally, someone who's grown up here and has always been taught about the tradition and known about the tradition, it kind of ruins it. I think I really am against that, and I think it should be, one game, Thanksgiving. It'll be 109 years, I believe, this year if it was Thanksgiving. Yep. Just ruins it for me, I think. So that's too bad that they did that.
A lot of people agree. I think it's something that could have been used. They could have gotten the playoffs scenarios they wanted, but not playing your Thanksgiving Day opponent. They could have got the same result and then still played your Thanksgiving Day opponent.
I agree.
So it is, we do appreciate you coming out and giving that honest answer, because a lot of people, whatever, we got to play the game. But you know what? It does make a big difference. I mean, I don't ever hear anyone talking about the Winchester-Wakefield game in the year they played.
Right.
They talk about the Winchester-Woburn game.
Yep.
It's the only game that matters.
Exactly.
Now it's going to matter 2, possibly 3 times. They could actually play each other 3
right,
times.
Right, they could play 3 times. So hopefully they change it. Hopefully they go back to the tradition, because it's just not good the way they change things around.
If they beat him, it'll feel a lot better.
Yeah, right, of course.
So
yes.
Thank you very much for coming,
Thank you
Sean.
guys
We
for
do
having
appreciate
me.
it.
All right,
Thanks for coming.
Thanks, Jimmy.
All right. What I'm going to do is first bring up, I'm going to have Parker Carey, who's the high school player of the week, come on up. He plays inside linebacker for the Sachems. He basically runs the defense. So you can slide over one. Be close to your buddy. I'm sure your friends would like to see that. And but first of all, you played a great game and called your name a lot when you made a lot of tackles. I know that having that type of result stinks, but you guys got to switch gears. But talk about the game real quick, and then the fact that you guys are playing Woburn Friday night.
It was pretty bitter that we lost, because we left a lot of things on the field, but, I mean, you should have looked past it, as you said. And you can't really focus on the past. You got to focus on what's coming after you next.
Jimmy, you have your microphone on. You don't need it, but you tell me about how'd you feel? I mean, what's that? You have expectations. You came off a huge win. Now you're, you don't win the Melrose game. You guys had high hopes. Now you got to adjust. How are you going to do that?
I feel like what Parker said was right. We left a lot of things on the table. The snap, whatever, all the stuff all mistakes we made that. For a team that's not very good, we can't make those mistakes and expect to win games, especially against teams like Melrose. But turning it over Friday, it's just about how we're going to practice this week, how we're going to focus for Woburn and stuff like that, and that how important this game actually is. Even though it's week 3, it's still that game. It's still Woburn. It's more important than beating Wilmington 7-6 in the last second or losing this week against Melrose. It's just the most important game of the year, this and Thanksgiving.
It is. So talk about that, Parker. I mean, here you are, Friday night up in Woburn. You talk about it. I mean,
well, me and him go to the last 2 games on Fridays when we have Saturday games, and we're able to watch them. And we've been watching them, and it's a lot different because, as Mr. Dolan was saying, my freshman coaches, Coach Anesi and Coach Nolan, they were always talking about how the one game they'll never forget is Thanksgiving. And it does make a huge difference. I mean, it's still an absolutely huge game for us because that could be the difference between making the playoffs and not making the playoffs. Right now they're 2-0. They have a lot of momentum. And as Jimmy said, if we practice well, we will beat them.
Well, I know you guys have some, you have the capability of doing it. I think if everybody plays well, knowing that team, I know you guys have some thoughts on, you guys have some openings that you guys can take advantage of. Does this take anything away from you on the Thanksgiving Day game?
I mean, it does, and it also doesn't, because, I mean, obviously the last few years haven't been too fun losing them. So it kind of gives us a chance to redeem ourselves. And also, the thing I think it does take away from is, as I was saying earlier, when you think back, it's like they're gonna say, "What was your?" I wouldn't want to say that in week 3 we beat them, but we lost on Thanksgiving. It's different. So.
Right. Tell me about that winning kick. That had to be that. I could see the way you were running. You've never run that fast in your life. After you kicked that thing running down to the middle of the field, that was awesome. Really, you should be, you'll remember that one, and I don't blame you. That was a great kick.
That was
some stones.
Yeah, that was a weird play because at the end of the game, 6-0, 50 seconds left. 30 seconds, 4 seconds left. Quinn scores, breaks 3 tackles. Great play, and.
I thought it was interesting that the coach didn't call a timeout.
Yeah.
He went out there.
Yeah, I thought the other coach was going to ice me, but I was shocked he didn't.
Well, it was an amazing, the fact that no one called the timeout, that you guys had to get on the field, and next thing you know, the snaps down, the holds down. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. I mean, you guys took the ball over with 40 seconds left. So, Jimmy, tell me about that. I mean, that was probably, what was it like to win that game?
It was different because we've never really been in that situation. I mean, last year against Melrose, we beat them it wasn't like the last second, but it was the last drive. And it was just different for this one because it had a different feel to it in the huddle. No one really, like years past, when we went down or something happened like that, we weren't resilient enough to come back from it. And it was just, we knew we were going to win the game. Like, there was a timeout, and Coach Zabowski came over to us and said, "We're going to win this game. There's no doubt." And we did it. So.
Well, good luck to you guys, obviously, this Friday night. We'll all be there. But, Parker, thank you very much. I'm going to get these 3 young men up here, so I appreciate it. Good luck, all right? Come on up, boys. Appreciate it. All right. So we're going to have, what I'm going to have you do, okay, right now, say your name and what team you play for and position. Go ahead.
I'm Joe Lepore. I play for the Winchester Sachems Black team, and I play tight end and defensive end.
Go ahead.
I'm Lucas Gabolis, and I play for Winchester Pop Warner C team, and I am the running back and left corner.
I'm Stefano Matsakis. I'm on the middle school red team, and I play safety, corner, and running back.
Okay, why don't you keep the microphone because I'm going to start with you. Now, you played against CM, right? And I understand the word is on the street that they were pretty big.
Yeah.
How did you have to overcome all those situations that some of those kids were a couple 100 pounds?
Well, like Coach says, is get low, so the lower man wins. So.
Yeah, you guys did a good job with that as well.
Yeah.
So this is your second year playing for the middle school.
Yeah.
For the middle school. So you were there last year. Now, did you play Pop Warner?
Yeah.
Where did you play?
I started on my E year.
Yep. So you've played all the way up through.
Yeah.
Well, that's great. Pass it over to Lucas. Lucas, again, your game. We were down 14-0. Decided at halftime that we were going to do just come out and do the basics, and that basics came down to Lucas running the ball, and you did a great job. You refused to go down on a few plays. You really showed what it meant not to quit. So, I could see you were dog tired, but you stuck with it. So talk about that a little bit. Talk about the fact that we just kept pounding the ball and trying to run over them.
Well,
most of the plays we called were to the right side, so that meant you were getting the ball. How many times? Do you remember how many times on that drive that you ran the ball?
I don't remember, but I know I ran it a lot.
Yeah, you did. It was about 6 or 7.
Yeah.
And he, was fighting for every yard. A couple of times it looked like he was going to go down, and he didn't go down. And then cornerback, they didn't really throw your way. They went the other way. So you were able to get a little bit of a break there because you were tired going both ways. I think you were probably pretty close to almost every snap out there, right?
Yeah. They threw to me once, and then they didn't get any yards, and then they kept doing the next time.
What's your favorite play on, by the way, we run the single wing, which is the wedge, 16 power, the sweep. What's your favorite play?
My favorite play is probably the 16 power,
You
because
run right at them.
that's just the easiest play for me.
It is, because you have a lot of choices once you get to that line whether you're going to go inside or outside, even though you're supposed to go outside, right?
Yeah.
All right, why don't you pass it over to Joe? Joe, tell me, I think, is this your first year playing?
This is my first year, yeah.
Yeah, and you're in 7th grade?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You, by the size of you, you're definitely bigger than some of the kids in the high school, okay? The one thing I did go to his game, and I was amused by everybody saying, that can't be Joe. He's grown. That's not Joe. He's too big. He's too big. So tell me, have you grown a lot in the last year or so?
Over the couple of years, yeah, I've grown a couple inches.
Yeah, and obviously, I, with somebody with your size, I was impressed by your speed because the first ball you caught, you ran for a touchdown, right? Talk about it. Was that your first touchdown?
That was my first touchdown, yeah.
Tell us about it. Go through it.
Well,
Who's the quarterback? Who threw it?
Jake Falkenberg was our quarterback on that one. Took the snap, threw a nice pass right into my hands. I had the open field, just broke one guy, and then just open field right down the sidelines.
Yeah.
Great feeling right when you go through the end zone.
Absolutely. I've never experienced it. I'll be honest with
Neither
you.
have I.
I do. The last play, how many catches did you have?
That was my third.
You had 3, okay? So, but the last play of the game, you had gotten the ball again on a pass. And, I know you were, they had the angles on you, but that would have won the game. So they had their opportunity. Talk about that, trying to make something happen. And I know you just run out of real estate when they're cutting you off.
Yeah, well, same play, another pass right to my hands, real good pass. Going down the sidelines, but they dropped their safety way far back, and he had the angle on me. He just pushed me out of bounds.
So you like playing football, obviously?
Yeah.
With having 3 catches and a touchdown, I bet you do.
Yeah.
One thing I do like to do on this segment is you have Jimmy and Parker, who's still here. I'd like to have you give them advice. They're going to play Woburn, what I think is the biggest game of their high school career, Friday night. What advice do you give to a kid that's playing the biggest game? Anything.
got to keep your hopes up. Can't let yourself go down even when maybe you're down by a couple of touchdowns. Just got to keep your hopes up.
That's great advice. Lucas, go ahead. Give it a shot. What's your advice to these guys?
Well, like, if you're down, don't give up, and that's basically it, yeah.
No, I agree. That's great advice. How about you? What do you think?
I say it's not an easy win. If you want to win, you got to keep in it. Can't let yourself down. Like
Yep.
Joe said, if you're down, you have to stay in it.
You know, and it is great advice, and I think, you know, I want to commend all of you guys for, you know, you guys, this was a tough week for everybody, but it was a great week for everybody. I think, you know, what the sport offers, you guys all had. You had teams that, you know, hung in there and won games, and you had teams that, you know, had to fight but still lost in the end. So we're good. We're done. Thank you guys very much for coming. Hey, you guys and Parker, Glorious Pizza, go there, tell them you were Player of the Week on our show, and
I
they'll
tell
give you a
them that
free
every
large
week.
cheese pizza.